Moving on to lash curls and direction, both of which we have discussed briefly. Lash curls. So the more you research into the industry, the more YouTube videos you watch, the more TikTok videos you watch, the more Instagram reels you watch, you'll see people talking about lash curls, styling, and it can become all-consuming, which isn't a bad thing. I remember, obviously, I don't do lashes as much anymore, but back in the day, I was totally obsessed, and I loved every single thing about it, which is why I have the knowledge I do now. And what I would say is, with any of these kind of jobs, when you're working in beauty, make it your obsession. Talk about it all the time. Talk to everyone about it. And that is how you build your business. So lash curls. There are quite a lot of lash curls out there within the eyelash extension industry. However, what I would say is that your standard lash curls that you will tend to use are going to be your C curl, your CC curl, and your D curl. A C curl is a curl that can be used for everyone. It works for curly lashes, straight lashes, like any type kind of eye shape. So when you're starting out and you're a bit worried about adding in various curls, a C curl generally is a safe option to use for everyone. However, when we do want to start creating symmetry and lifting and balancing, this is when we are going to have to look at various curls. So I'm not going to read through this. You can read through this, when you are having a look at your manual, but I am going to break down each curl briefly. So we have got a B curl. So a B curl isn't as popular nowadays, but when I entered the industry, a B curl was very popular, and a B curl is a straight curl. So, you see some of these styles where they're like a kind of short, beautiful fox eye. A lot of those are done with a C curl because they're quite straight, but they kind of just give a beautiful top line. But a B curl is going to be good for a really natural look. You then have a BB, which is a little bit curlier than a B, but slightly less curly than a C. We have our standard C curl. Just trying to work out how I use my hand in the mirror in the camera. So you'd have your B curl, BB, and then your C, which sits like this. And it just gives everyone a beautiful natural lift, and it can be used on anyone. To be honest, when I am styling, I will always use a C curl on the very inners. I tend not to use a stronger curl on the inners just because they can kind of curl over and kind of irritate the eyes. And one point to remember with eyelash extensions in general, our inner lashes and our outer lashes are the weakest lashes in the eye. So please use lighter, shorter lashes on the inners and outers, even if it's just a few shorter lashes on the outers, if you're looking to give a cat eye effect, as an example. So we've got B, BB, and C, and we've got CC. So we've got our B, BB, C, and then we've got our CC, and then we've got our D that sits like this, and then we've got our DD, which is even curlier. So a CC is in between a C and a D, and again is a beautiful, beautiful curl, which could probably be used on everyone. However, I would say if a client does have big eyes, you are going to want to use a C or a more relaxed curl, but a CC does just give a little bit more lift. Then you've got your D curl, which I would say is your glamorous curl but gives good lift. So if a client has sleepy eyes, we're going to use a D curl to lift, but always a C curl on those inners. If they have downturn, we're going to use a D curl to lift the outers. D plus, I don't see very often. I mean, once upon a time, I sold eyelash extensions, which obviously I discussed in the earlier content, and I did sell quite a few DD lashes, and I would say more so, let's say, your super glamorous women, your Essex. I have some salon friends in Essex, and they love, that beautiful, glamorous look. And the curlier they are, you know, in my opinion, they do look glamorous. So, you know, for that sort of style, if you've got a lady that likes to wear tons of makeup and they like that glam, a DD is going to be a really nice curl. However, it's not something I personally use in the salon. I use a C, a CC, or a D. And then we've got LC, LD, and M curl. So an LC or an LD, basically it has a flat bit before it then turns into a curl. So you've got the flat bit here and then it curls, either a C or a D curl. And then you've got your M, which kind of has a bit of a curve and then comes up. They're both really nice shapes. There was a period in time where they were super, super popular, but I would say they don't get used too much anymore. But I just kind of wanted to explain those curls, but have a really good read and it will all make sense. And then just to quickly break down direction again before we move on to lash mapping. We touched on direction earlier when we were talking about round face and a long face, but what we can absolutely do with eyelash extensions is adjust the direction of the natural lash. So when we are looking at natural lashes, they will come in all kind of different directions, starting in different layers. And let's say, for example, my natural lashes all sit quite straight, and then we've got a few here that kind of point in front of some of the others. What you can do is, let's say this is one of my naturals, you can place the extension at an angle. So even though my natural is pointing this way, the extension will point up this way. And the way you do that is just place your extension onto the base of the natural eyelash in the direction you want that extension to sit, and just hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and just let those outside layers of that adhesive cure, and the extension will sit and cure in that direction. Whenever I'm talking about direction, I am talking about 12 or 3 o'clock. 12 o'clock is when I want to give lift and I want to open the eyes. 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock on the other eye is when I want to start angling my lashes out to elongate, or to give the illusion that open eyes are a bit more elongated. So that's the end of this little section. Next, we're going to move on to lash mapping.